record on this computer. All right, you guys ready?
Yeah, ready.
All right. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Knowledge is Power podcast. I'm your host, Max Willett, and man, am I excited for this episode. I've got two 3D printing experts on today, and we're going to go ahead and introduce them and then totally geek out about 3D printing, and it's going to be awesome. So if you guys want to go ahead and introduce yourselves, that'd be great. So Steven, if you want to go ahead.
All right. Yeah. My name's Steven. I'm the creator of the 3D Printer Academy YouTube channel. And basically on that channel, I showcase different engineering designs, mechanical objects, anything really I think people would find interesting in regards to engineering, physics, and 3D printing. So kind of a little bit educational, not really necessarily teaching 3D printing, but kind of teaching general things like how gearboxes work and how automatic transmissions work and things like that.
Awesome. So Frank, if you want to go ahead.
Hey guys, I'm Frank. I am the owner operator of Frankly Built YouTube and various social medias. I actually focus on, I don't want to say the opposite, but the other side of the coin, I think, of 3D printing, where there's still mechanical applications, but it's more of the collectible side, making Iron Man helmets, making props, and making tutorials focused around them, but then also teaching people how to 3D print, because if you can't get your printer working, how are you going to make the helmet,
Yeah. Something that on my very small YouTube channel, something that I love to try to talk about is education, because a lot of people don't know a lot about 3D printing. I've been asked a couple of times, what kind of ink do I use, which is pretty funny. And, but that's all right. That happens. But yeah,
right.
Yeah. I mean, it's printing, so if you don't know anything about it, then that's a valid question. But yeah, so I'd like to get into the life story portion of the podcast and hear your lives leading up to 3D printing, so to speak. So Steven, if you want to go ahead and share that, that'd be awesome.
All right. So basically, I've always enjoyed making things. I used to make things out of popsicle sticks and tape before I knew about 3D printing. I've always had kind of an entrepreneurial mindset, always basically wanted to work for myself. Actually, initially, my plan was to work at my parents' engineering firm and kind of take over their business. But started doing that for a little bit, didn't really like it too much. So I decided to try to make some products. And from there, to make a product, you need prototypes. And the cheapest way to make a prototype is with 3D printing. So that is basically the short story of how I got into 3D printing. I basically wanted to make prototypes, found a 3D printer at a library at Cornell University, started using it. I was paying each time to use it. And I realized really quickly, I could just buy my own for like $200, print unlimited things. Super great, just unlocks ultimate creative freedom, which is amazing. That's kind of why 3D printing is so cool. Like, I couldn't imagine not having a printer nowadays. Yeah. So yeah, just because I like engineering, because I like making things. I was also a physics and math tutor in college. So I guess I also enjoy teaching things as well. And also enjoyed making videos. So combine all those things and boom, you get 3D Printer Academy, where I showcase the engineering things. And I also have courses that I teach online as well. So yeah, that's basically. Is my audio working?
Yeah, it's great. You
okay,
sound great.
I had the message said they had trouble hearing me, but yeah, that's basically the story of how I got started.
Awesome. So you said you went to college in Cornell?
I went to college in California. My wife went to college at Cornell. So we got married.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of younger. I was 24 or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I moved out there for her last year of school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So where'd you go to college in California?
I went to a small private school called CBU, Cal
Okay.
Baptist University.
Okay.
Yeah,
Very cool.
pretty small private Christian school in Riverside, California.
Awesome.
For civil engineering, that's what I did.
Civil engineering. Awesome. So yeah, I'm on the other side of the country, and I believe Frank is as well. I'm in little Rhode Island, but great state. But Frank, if you want to go ahead and explain your life story, that'd be great too. Because I know you have a military background. So if you want to go into all of that, that's completely fine.
Oh yeah. So I grew up in New Jersey, and got out of high school. Wasn't primed for college. Didn't do the best in school. Bounced between a couple of jobs at first, and at about 21, I got married, and I was working at a auto customization shop. And I liked it. I liked working on cars. I always did. I always liked building things. I built Legos when I was a kid, which evolved into building Gundam models, which involved to messing up my car and spray painting things I shouldn't be spray painting. And I knew like this job, I wasn't gonna be able to sustain a family with it. Like, yeah, I made money, but I was always worried about like it getting shut down like overnight because it had some business practices that we didn't always agree with. And my buddy had enlisted in the military. He had joined the Air Force, and he's one of my best friends in high school. And he was having a pretty good life. Like he had gotten stationed back in New Jersey, so he was pretty much living at home with his wife, and he had a good paycheck, had a good career. So I'm like, you know what, I can do this. I always wanted to join the Air Force, and let's try this. And then I got stationed to Japan, so that didn't pan out the way we were expecting. Like, oh, you want to stay home? We're going to put you on the other side of the planet. Like, the recruiter lied to me. And if anybody listening wants the actual inside details of what the military, Air Force at least, is like, and you think your recruiter is lying to you, because he is, hit me up on Instagram. I will talk anybody into the military or out of it. It's not for everybody, but it is the best decision I have ever made for my life. Like, I would not change it. It got me in a great place. I've been in for 10 years now, getting out this October. Yeah, it's been an experience living overseas for 9 years. I've seen things I have never thought I'd be able to see, traveling Europe and Asia, that I would never be able to afford if I still lived in America. Like, it's cheap. It's like taking a flight from New Jersey to Florida is like going from England to Italy. It sounds bougie, but it was only a $60 flight. So it was great. And after living in England for a little bit, I decided after seeing Avengers Endgame, I'm like, I want to make an Iron Man suit. I want to get into cosplay. How do I do this? What's the point of entry here? And I started Googling a lot of things, and 3D printing came up as like a viable option. It's like, these are only like this is the cost of a gaming console. I thought these were thousands of dollars, and it was a big printer. It was a CR10S. It had some size to it. And I had asked my wife, I talked to her about it, like, hey, financially, like, can we do this? Are you okay with me getting a printer? She's like, I actually wanted to buy you one for your birthday, but I got so overwhelmed with all the options, I got you a PlayStation instead. So she was a little mad. She's like, I knew I should have gotten you the printer. I'm like, it's okay. She showed me the one she was going to get. I'm like, they actually would have been wrong anyway. It's not on you. There's a lot of information out there. And got a printer, got some files, started working on the suit, and it got out of hand really quickly. And now we're here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, your Iron Man suit build series went viral basically on YouTube, right? And that's how I got introduced to you was through those videos. And absolutely amazing. If you're watching this on YouTube, then you can see it in his background, in Frank's background, which is awesome. But yeah, so I'd love to hear a little bit more. If you want to go more in depth about your YouTube channels, and your YouTube careers now, basically, and what sort of was the inspiration of the way that you wanted to go with your YouTube channel, and what are your future plans with it, and then we can get a little bit more into 3D printing after that. So, Stephen, if you want to go ahead.
Okay, so everything YouTube, basically.
Yeah.
All right. I really started on Instagram, to be honest. Just trying, well, I was designing a lot of things just for fun, basically. Just cool things that I thought of. Posted it on there. Actually, before that, let me get the story straight. Yeah, I was basically 3D printing. I launched my very first course on Kickstarter, and I was posting things on Instagram, like, trying to promote the course and stuff. Back then I was like reposting other people's cool things, started designing more of my own things, posted that. They started taking off a lot more. Reels came out, so I started posting reels, and then that's when it really blew up. Got millions of views on reels for some of my custom designs. And I'm like, okay, these people like this stuff. And I kind of just threw some stuff on YouTube, just like not even like planning on making it a YouTube channel. Like, some of the reels that did good, I posted a vertical video on YouTube. Like, you're not supposed to put vertical videos, so that was October 2020 or 2019, I forget. But I just threw it up there just basically for me to have. But little did I know, that's when YouTube Shorts came out. And that video just blew up like crazy. I think that one's at like my Gearbox video, 5.7 million views.
That's it.
Yeah. So that one, yeah, that's when I knew. I was like, okay, maybe there's something here. So I started digging more into YouTube. Not really doing shorts, doing full length videos. And I started out doing tutorials on how to 3D print. But for me, I think it's a little small of a niche for me. I'd rather do more of a wider audience. So that's why I focus on teaching or showcasing cool, interesting engineering things. So I think there's a huge audience for that, and it's way more evergreen. So those videos will just continue to do good, and
it ticks
go ahead.
boxes, right? Because not only are engineering videos, it's like that satisfying render. It's just, you don't even need to care about the engineering. They're satisfying to watch. So you have that whole crowd, but then you have the people who are interested in engineering. Then there's them, or just want to know about 3D printing. Like it hits a couple different areas there, and I think that's really awesome.
Yeah, it definitely has that those weird satisfying videos where like the little thing is,
they're perfect. Yeah, exactly. You just like watching them, and you don't even really care how it's working, but like, I'm for it.
Yeah, I just try to make it entertaining, interesting, and I always try to sprinkle in some sort of educational tidbit, so people feel like they're getting something valuable out of it. But yeah, now I've been full into YouTube basically. Yeah, trying to just post more content and trying to figure out how to scale it right now. That's the big thing.
Yeah, well, I remember what was it like? It had to have been only like 3 or 4 months ago. You only had only 40,000 subs, and now you got over 100, which you more than doubled in a couple of months, right?
And it'll double again in a couple of months.
That would be awesome. I wish that would happen to me every couple of months. But I'm very thankful for the little subscribers that I have. But in terms of my channel, I guess I've just, whatever's came to mind. I do a lot of sort of just recording with my mic on my computer like this and talking a little bit about 3D printing and sort of topics that interest me, like talking about some news and things like that. I only have 4 videos with some views. My most viewed video on YouTube has like 12,000 views, and that was when I was in my parents' basement, and I made the video there, which is kind of interesting because it looked like I was in my parents' basement. And all my other videos that I put a lot more effort into don't even have a quarter or of the views.
So can I change that perspective for you a little bit? Because I just heard this in a recent Corridor cast. Did you ever watch the Corridor crew? Those guys?
Yes. Those are the video editing guys. Yeah.
Or
the
okay. Artists react to that.
Yes.
Yes. So they have a podcast, in case you didn't know, and it's awesome.
Okay.
I'll have to look it up.
It's my drive to work. It's awesome. I watch it on YouTube, but like I just listen to it. I don't watch while I'm driving. But they were talking about that. They were talking about the perspective views. So like, we used to upload a video when the first channel started, and you get like 1,000 views or 3,000 views. And now if we had a video that did that, it would be like, yikes, what happened? Because growth, you have an expectation. But at the same time, if you are a smaller channel and okay, you get 100 views, right? You get 1,000 views. They were like, put those people in a room. Imagine if it wasn't a video, if it was a demonstration of you standing on stage for 5, 10, 15 minutes, and you talked, you did the same information that you just presented in that video on a live stage, and that many people came into a room to see it. Would you be, ungrateful is not the word, but would you be as, oh, only 1,000 people showed up? But if you could see those 1,000 people, you'd be like, 1,000 people watched this thing. And imagine having to thank all of them. Imagine having to thank 3,000 people. Imagine having to thank just 100 people for coming out and be like, thank you for listening to me babble about this thing. For
our 3D printers overpriced. Like, who really cares about that?
Like some people want to know that, and if it's one person, if it's 10 people, that's 10 people who put that time into watching your video, And anytime I have a video that might seemingly tank or it didn't get as many views, maybe it was a little bit too specific, that number I think is still a good reflection of, well, those people did care, and that's cool. I know it's the algorithm game. YouTube is rough, but sometimes I think it's good to knock yourself back down a little and think like, well, they don't all need to be hits, because I'm having, if you're especially having fun with it, that's the best part of it, at least. It shifted my mindset quickly, and like I've never heard it put like that. And yeah, you know what, that 2,000 view video kind of seems like a lot of views now if the previous one did 10,000. It's like, that's great, but those two are still primo, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Frank, if you want to go into a lot more detail about your YouTube channel and sort of your YouTube journey, that'd be awesome.
My YouTube journey is in shambles. It's all over the place.
Well, let's hear it.
My YouTube channel started out as a car channel. I was modifying, working on my car and uploading tutorials because, there's none of those videos on the internet. And that's what it was. I uploaded like very slowly. So the creation date of my YouTube doesn't reflect when it really kicked over to 3D printing. It actually took Social Blade over a year to start classifying my YouTube as a entertainment rather than automotive. So that was funny. And I only started uploading to YouTube because I got my 3D printer and I was like, yeah, let me make a little YouTube video on just unboxing it. So I put that up there. Still a car channel, still cars. And I started working on the Iron Man suit and started printing some stuff. And I posted it on Instagram. I shared some stuff on Instagram, and then I shared some stuff on a Facebook 3D printing group. And then I shared some stuff on Reddit. Oh boy. If you time Reddit just right, it can change your life. And that was the catalyst to all of this, was a post of mine where it showed my suit raw printed. It was all black plastic on an armor stand. And I posted it in, I don't remember the next effing level, or maybe it was 3D printing or something. I don't remember where I posted it, but overnight it got like 30,000 upvotes, and everybody wanted to know, how the heck are you doing this? Like, what is this? So I was like, let me record some of this stuff. Let me talk about this journey. Let me start really, because I had a lot of stuff recorded with my GoPro, but like, let me start. All right, yeah, this is what I did. And I also started to notice that there's tons of information on making Iron Man suits. But there wasn't much on YouTube, especially YouTube, about doing it with a 3D printer. And that's where that hole was. That I was like, there's people want to know this stuff, because not only is 3D printing new, using it to make larger stuff, cosplay was also very new. So as I did a lot of trial and error, and I think that's what resonated most with people, and I still think resonates with a lot of my followers, is I'll mess stuff up catastrophically, but I'll show you too. I won't try to hide this perfect facade. I could show this suit on Instagram and take one picture of the suit and be like, look how great this came out. And that would come off a certain way, right? Like, all right, cool. But if the people who have been following me, they know, like, oh, it didn't always used to look like that. And they can track that. And you can go and watch that. You can watch the struggles I have with it. You can see the frustration. You can see the mistakes, because I think that's helped ground people and help it grounded on reality. Like, I'm not just some guy on the internet who had, he's rich and he just built an Iron Man suit and it all went perfect. It's like, oh, baby doll. If you knew, if you only knew. And I always try to show that. I was trying to be as real as possible with people. Like, you're going to mess some stuff up. And Steve, you've been 3D printing, the things are going to go wrong, and you can prep for it all you want. You can understand the machine perfectly. Everything can be calibrated, but those gremlins, man, they'll get in there sometimes, and you'll just come home to a failed print. And you're like, I don't get this.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest misconceptions about 3D printing is they think that you just print the file and boom, it's good to go.
Yeah.
And
watch my last TikTok. Trust me.
oh yeah. Well, I think a perfect example of what you were just talking about is your most recent video. I just watched the katana video. You didn't have to show that it broke, but you did. And it still came out amazing, and it's a very cool process. Something that I don't really have the patience to do is painting. I was just telling Steven that before we started.
Did you plan the duality of this, me and him? Because there's I like this, like, you're like the engineering, designing your own stuff. Like, I feel like we're on like the perfect opposite spectrums of what you can do with 3D printing. And
my whole business, Custom 3D, I've really centered it around prototyping and rapid manufacturing for people. I have 3D printing on demand, which is more consumer based part. And then I have product prototyping, which I've done quite a few projects now, designing somebody's new entrepreneurial idea from the ground up. And it's pretty interesting, because I was thinking the same thing. I do have a crosshair helmet from the Bad Batch that I 3D printed. My buddy painted it. And I did it in one piece because I didn't want to put it all together. And it took 6 days to print. And I'll tell you what, I bought 2 Sunlu S8 Pluses, thought they were going to be junk. And at first they were.
They need some love out of box.
Yeah.
Good base, but
yeah.
There's a reason they're cheap, and Sunlu really drove that one home.
well, they want you to think that it's an all metal hot end at first, just based off of the layout. Sorry if we're getting too technical for people, but the PTFE tubing goes in at the top and stops. It doesn't go all the way through to the hot end, the nozzle, like you see on a lot of the Creality machines. And I think they do that on purpose. So people say, oh, look, it's got a hot metal hot end. Well, it doesn't. There's like the thinnest tubing that goes in like the middle of the heat break, right? And it runs down straight to the nozzle. So if you print constantly or consistently with PETG, it's instantly melted and gone. So within, I don't know, 30 hours of printing, it got clogged. And I was like, what the heck? Like 30 hours, like that's it. And so I had to completely replace the hot end assembly with a Creality setup. I had to buy a whole new bracket to, with the wheels to go on the X axis, and so that the Creality hot end would fit. But now it works great. But then actually on one of them, oh my God, the part that heats up, why can't I remember what the name of it, that heats up the hot end, broke. Yeah, the thermistor. And I couldn't find a replacement that was long enough to make it so it goes to the top of the printer. So now it only goes 120 millimeters tall when it's a 400 millimeter tall printer. But I've got 2 of them. So one of them still goes that high. So I got to see if I can find a wire that's long enough. But yeah. But yeah, so I would love to hear, your 3D printing farms, all about them. So Steven, how many 3D printers do you have?
1, 2, 3 over there. Ones I use all the time. So
okay.
2 Ender 3s, Ender 3 Pro V2. Despite what people say, they've been super reliable for me. Like super easy, like easiest thing. I never have to fix anything. Only one part, the little brass nut that feeds the filament in, that got worn down. It's the only thing I've done.
I can hear people typing emails like enders are terrible. Like that's your inbox now. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always recommend Ender 3, like 100%.
Hands down.
Despite what people say. I think it's great. I mean, yeah, I haven't had any issues. I've bought a bunch of them. So yeah, so basically, yeah, and I have a CR30 is the belt one.
Yep.
That's behind me there. Don't use it very often because Creality doesn't have a slicer on Mac, which is really frustrating.
Oh.
So I have to boot up into Windows, and it's just like kills the workflow. Yeah.
I actually have a 30 sitting right there.
Nice.
And I can't.
As in you have more than one?
No, I have. That's the only.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's literally it. That's funny. It's right in the background. That play with. There's no good profile for it yet in Creality belt. So like my supports, my raft and my supports don't stick to the raft, and then the supports don't stick to the model. So everything just slides and moves. It's the weirdest thing, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah. Hopefully, it's still new. So.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, a CR30 is different from a traditional 3D printer. It's basically a treadmill, is the best, easiest way to put it. And then the hot end assembly is on a 45-degree angle. So it basically totally changes the rules of traditional 3D printing in terms of support material and things like that. I have one too. I printed a sword on it. Didn't come out great. I ended up breaking it and having to glue it back together. And my friend's painting that now. It's definitely a very cool printer, and the slicer does have its issues. But Frank, if you want to go into detail about your 3D printing farm, because I know you have quite a few.
Currently in my possession, on my property, I have 35 printers.
Holy cow.
Yeah, holy cow.
I don't use all of them though, because as you guys know, maintaining multiple profiles in Cura, it's so annoying. Like, now I gotta switch to the FL Sun, and now I gotta print on the Mac. So let me go back to the Ender. I gotta load up FlashForge or Flash print to print on my FlashForge, and maintaining multiple profiles is just annoying. So production wise, and what I use in my little farm, I have four different types. I have 6 Ender 3 or Ender 3 clones, like the Voxel Lab Aquila, which a lot of people have talked some stuff about the firmware on that and having some thermal problems. I have never had that. Thing's been more reliable than my Enders, and it's an Ender 3 V2 clone for like $150. It's disgusting, and it just works. But I have 6 of those, 3 Ender 5 pluses, trying to make it a 4th, because the build plate and the faux Core XY, you can print so fast on that, it's not fair. And then I have 6 Voxel Lab Aquilas, which are literally just it's a bed slinger version of the Ender 5 Plus. It uses all Creality parts. It literally uses the Ender 5 Plus's bed, a Creality 4.2.7 main board. Like, it's just a Creality printer with Sobel slapped on the front of it. And then 2 CR10S Pro V2s, and I think those are my favorite printer, because it's 4 bolts out of the box and it just works. And then I'm working on adding. Right now I have 1 CR10 Max, which I love. I want more of those, because being able to just print full chest and armor parts in one shot is great. That's be very kind of important in what I'm trying to do here. But I also have a CR10 S4, which is decent. It prints good. I kind of almost don't want to get rid of it. But then I have a CR10 S5 sitting over here, and it is the biggest pile of junk that Creality has ever made. Awful. The entire CR10 S5 is literally a CR10 S scaled up. It's the same heater pad. It's the 300 by 300 heater pad, the same power supply, the same board. The only stepper motors they upgraded was the Y-axis, because it's a beefier motor to pull the bed. The Z motors are the same. The extruder motor is the same. And the X, they literally just scaled it up because people were like, we want a bigger printer. They did no R&D. It has no bracing. It has no self-leveling. The bed is always warped. It was Creality going after a money grab. You can get it to work, or by spending like a couple extra $100 on upgrades and calibrating and replacing a bunch of parts, or you can lose the 50 by 50 by 30 and buy the CR10 Max that already has all of that for cheaper. It's an interesting printer. So I'm probably going to sell the S4 and the S5 and buy 2 more Maxes. So then I have 3 Maxes to just print gigantic stuff on. So,
How many do you actually use like at a time? Because I couldn't even like just having 3, it takes up all my time just printing on 3 printers.
Right now in the other room, I have a mock setup because it's so cold. My garage isn't insulated yet. So I can't print in the garage. The second I turn my printers on and try to start heating it, it automatically trips thermal runaway because the beds are reading 0 degrees Celsius and the main boards don't like that. There's probably a setting I can change in the firmware, but that could risk damaging the printer. Like it'd be very risky. So I had to convert our guest room into a print farm. So right now I have my 2 Pro V2s on the top table, 2 Ender 3s below it. Then on the bed, I put down a folding table as like a tabletop, and I have my Max and my S4 there printing big parts. So, and then I have printers that I'm currently reviewing for videos. I beat them up. I'll let them print projects for me that I'm working on, but I also get use out of them. So it's like, all right, I can test this. I can abuse it like I would. And then I get a good review out of it. Like, hey, look at all the stuff I printed. Like this creepy 3D scan of my head. I printed this on a Delta printer, the FL Sun Super Racer.
Okay.
I can use this in the video now. Like, look, it printed it. I printed this in about 8 hours, super fast. Like it's like 1% infill. So in there, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 8 printers running in there right now. If I had more outlets and sockets, I'd be running more. But right now, they're all out.
You have an Etsy shop too, right?
Yes.
Oh, and what do you sell in the Etsy shop?
Mostly helmets. People want me to sell giant swords, and it's like I priced out shipping my Buster sword one time. No,
yeah,
sir. But it's mostly helmets. But my Etsy's like 3rd or 4th order of priority. My YouTube is my main focus. I can't fight it too much, but I hate when people are like, "Oh, you're that TikToker." I'm like, no, what happened? I want to be the YouTube guy, not the TikTok guy. But it's a constant exposure, so it's a constant battle, right? I'm not saying bad on TikTok, but like,
well, the COI of customer acquisition costs, on YouTube is a lot higher than it is on TikTok. So, having 100,000 followers on YouTube is a lot harder than getting 100,000 followers on TikTok.
I was talking to a couple other Iron Man cosplay builders, and we kind of came to the rough equivalence of 100,000 on YouTube is rough. It feels like 1 million on TikTok. Because
I think that's 100% accurate.
Yeah, because I mean, it's basic. It's the difficulty that it takes to subscribe or follow the person. On TikTok, you're on your phone. It's boom, you're right there. On YouTube, you kind of have to scroll under the video. That extra step adds that. And then you look at podcasting and the acquisition cost is a little higher than YouTube, followers, but like just how all of that works is very interesting. I've talked to other people about that as well. Yeah, I mean, I know a guy that is coming at it from a different angle. I met this guy on TikTok, and we did I 3D printed. So his name is Levi Stanford. He's out in Canada, and he is missing his left arm from his elbow down, and he has a prosthetic. So I reached out to him and I said, "Hey, we need to do a collaboration." So I 3D printed him a mace to put on his arm and PETG, and it came out like crap. And I don't know why I didn't reprint it, but I sent it out. Oh, and then I have I'm friends with another company up in Rhode Island, in Providence, called Design Formations. Great company. They do a lot of post-processing, traditional prototyping and casting and things like that. And they have some PolyJet 3D printers. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that type of 3D printing. Yeah. So I'll talk about that in a second. But he put out a video. If you go to my YouTube channel, Custom 3D, you can see it up there. And he tested the mace out, and that was a great collaboration. But the point that I'm getting at is he has over 1 million followers on TikTok. And then he has like, I think he has like 4,000 on YouTube. And if that's the ratio, you know, that you're looking at, because he has his YouTube in his link tree on his TikTok, you know,
Getting people cross-platform is the hardest thing you will ever do as a content creator. I will take that to my grave, because the same reason it's hard to get people, it's work. Oh, I gotta press how many buttons?
yeah,
You don't want to do that. They don't want to go to your profile, go to your link tree, wait for it to load, scroll, find YouTube, go to YouTube, see if you're interesting, and then that's work. And
yeah,
I get it. I mean, I've been scrolling there like, that's interesting, cool, but it doesn't mean I'm going to subscribe. Doesn't mean I'm going to take the time to go find your YouTube.
yeah, yeah. I mean, so talk about PolyJet. So I worked at an industrial 3D printing or rapid prototyping firm, I guess, for about a year. I interned there. And they had Stratasys 3D printers. They had FDM. They had
Those are crazy.
So they had 2 F450s, if you're familiar with the models. They had a 380, which is like a smaller version. They had a 400, which is like an older version of the 450s. They had 2 PolyJet. They had a Connex PolyJet 3D printer, a J850, one of the only ones on the East Coast. Then they had a 2 Objet PolyJet 3D printers. They had 2 smaller ABS, ASA only FDM machines, 250s. That's what those are called. And then they had the Fortis 500, which is a 36-inch by 24-inch by 36-inch fully enclosed monster that can print Ultim, nylon, all those high temp materials with, you know, without skipping a beat. And that printer retails for around $500,000. And I was very lucky to work on those machines, and I loved working there, but I ended up leaving due to the, you know, competition, because I had my own business and I wanted to grow it, and I didn't feel like I could grow it working there, unfortunately. But yeah, it was awesome. Really exposed me to the whole 3D printing industry, because I had really never known about industrial 3D printers before that. And it also, you know, I hate to say this, exposed me to the robbery of spending that much money on a 3D printer.
I love seeing people on Marketplace or eBay or trying to sell like old Ultimakers that were the size of like fridges for like 10 grand, when
Yeah.
my print's just as good as them now. And it's like,
So yeah, my first experience with a 3D printer was an Ultimaker. It was a Ultimaker, the second one that came out. So like the second model. I don't remember the name of it. Ultimaker extended to, I don't know, 2 extended plus or something like that. Always had issues with it. It was at school. I'm in high school. And then they ended up getting a Lulzbot, which was even worse, unfortunately. I've heard a lot of mixed things about Lulzbots, but the Lulzbot that they had there, probably because it wasn't taken care of very good, didn't last very long. And then they bought an Ultimaker 3, which was a really nice printer. That's when Ultimaker really stepped up their game, I thought. And they were getting more like Makerbot, where it was a lot more closed source and not as open, but still a good printer. But yeah, I could go on for a long time about the relationship between Stratasys and Makerbot as well, because I watched, I don't know if you guys have watched the Netflix documentary on, really good documentary.
That dude is whack. You know who I'm
yeah. 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 The old
that,
CEO of Makerbot.
What's it called? The documentary?
Print a Legend on Netflix. It basically talks about the whole 3D printing industry after Makerbot, or from Makerbot, and
pre-orders, the shambles of it all, and
what's the SLA, Formlabs and Formlabs.
Yeah,
and then
thing like, what's this? How does that work? Yeah,
and their relationship with their superiors, basically in 3D systems from Formlabs, which is the SLA, and Stratasys and Makerbot, which are FDM. And I love how the old CEO of Makerbot would always compare himself to Steve Jobs and
Oh,
say, this is what Steve Jobs would do. He would do this, he would do that. And then he sold out his company.
if you want to watch a documentary on alienating your workforce 101, man.
Oh my God.
This is like textbook.
Yeah, like cringe. Like that's why I love the guy who founded Formlabs. That guy stuck to his guns. And he, you could say, oh, look, Free Pettis is worth 50 million now, but I guarantee you that guy is worth 3 times that because he didn't sell his company. And he has a lot more respect in the industry.
Exactly. No one, yeah. All you have is, all he has is his brand. It's like, yeah, you're not the best person, but you make good stuff, I guess. Where it's like, oh, you're worth something and you're like a good human being,
Well, like Makerbot was all founded on being open source, right? Look, here's how we made it. This is all the parts. Here you go. We're just going to send it up, put it together and send it to you.
It won't burn your house down.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh no, we're closed source now because we want to get bought out by Stratasys,
Yeah.
Could
I because you were talking about
of course, yeah.
You said you were the guy in Canada. He had he amputated an arm, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna plug my buddy Bionic Author. I don't know if you've seen him on Instagram. For those who can see it, he 3D prints attachments to his nub arm, and
that's awesome.
He has so much. Usually he'll print like multiple.
Oh, I've seen him before. I recognize him.
One large thing, and then he'll print a small. And his prints are beautiful.
Yeah,
and then he'll print something for his nub arm, and it's
the
most adorable thing. And he has so much fun with it. He's a good dude. Sorry, yeah, just you said the nub arm and 3D printing and prosthetics and
No, I'd love to hear your guys' perspective on the 3D printing industry and how you guys look at it. I know it's kind of a wide open question, but I mean, we all come from different backgrounds. So, I don't know, Frank, you have any comments on anything else that I said, but.
Not really. I mean,
no.
Yeah.
That's all right.
We could dedicate the whole cast to that one.
Well, let's do it. I mean, if you don't want to talk about it, I understand, but like, I mean, I've really found a love of 3D printing, within the past 3 years since I graduated high school. I graduated in 2019. So I'm not even 21 yet. I'll be 21. Same birthday as Elon Musk. So I don't know if that means anything.
Oh, 69 days before 420. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. We could keep it PG, Steven.
those are dates. Those are dates and numbers.
Those are dates and numbers. Yeah. But it's something that I've grown to love. I have, so my 3D printing farm, I have, so my first 3D printer was a Monoprice Mini Delta.
Hey, I had a Monoprice for my first printer too.
They weren't bad.
Well,
300.
So that Monoprice Mini Delta was like $150 when I bought it. And mine it was like a great first printer. Yeah. Did you had a Mini Delta too?
I had the Select V2.
Okay.
So it wasn't the Delta one. It was like the cantilever one.
Okay.
That's the one I'm thinking of, the one you had, Steven.
Yeah. So I ended up giving that to my first. So I actually have an intern now. I had a first intern here, and I actually gave that one to him, and I haven't heard back from him since he left. So he still has it. He probably threw it out because it was broken when I gave it to him. So I wouldn't be surprised. But then I bought a CR10 Mini, which I am absolutely in love with those printers. They have been rock solid. I have one that's it's going to be 3 years old pretty soon.
You were the first person on this planet I've ever heard praise the Mini.
I don't know. Listen, I don't understand why people dislike it. I only have 3 of them, but I mean, they've been nothing but great to me. They're printing right now in the other room. And I have 3 of those. I have 2 Ender 3s. I have an Ender 3 and an Ender 3 Pro, and I have a Voxelab. And then I have Elegoo Mars Pro with the Anycubic wash and cure station. two Sunlu S8s, CR30, and a Prusa Mark 3S Plus, which I kind of slammed on them on my YouTube channel because I bought the multi-material upgrade for it, and it totally destroyed the printer. Wasn't good. The printer stopped working all the time. The sensors went crazy. So I took that off, $300 down the drain. If you guys want to Prusa Mark III multi-material upgrade, let me know. Sitting in a drawer right now, doing absolutely nothing. But that printer is I still think it's overrated, because especially having my CR10 minis and my Ender 3s, who I think are actually more reliable than it. I don't know if you guys have any comments on the Prusa, but that's sort of my experience.
I'm about to buy a Prusa real soon.
You can buy an XL?
I don't know if I have enough room for an XL.
Yeah.
It
thing
sounds
looks tasty.
nice, but
that thing
I would
looks
probably
tasty.
get the pre-assembled one just because I don't know.
The Mark III or the Mini?
The Mark III.
Okay. Yeah,
just because I need to have it because so many people ask about it.
I bought the kit. I think that was my first mistake. I mean, I assembled it. It took me a long time just because, and for it still to be $750 for a printer that does not come even closely assembled is insane.
And comes with 3D printed parts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of the XL, I pre-ordered one.
Okay.
I am not worried about anything I have or will say about Prusa because they don't typically sponsor or work with people who are Prusa fanboys. I'll say it and come at me at the DMs. I have proof of that. I have Creality. I have a lot of other budget printers, so I'm not really prime marketing for them. So I'm gonna buy an XL, and I already have thoughts on it. One of my friends pointed out, he said, you're about to pay $2,000 for a printer that under-delivered on the size it initially said it was going to, that still comes with 3D printed parts. If Creality sold a $200 printer that came with printed parts, people would lose their minds. Granted, the fan duct is kind of an exception because it's an odd shape and it is much easier to print that and it serves its purpose. And I get that's Prusa's niche thing. Like, look, the screen holder is printed. It's cool, but it's like, dude, you could buy a car for this price. Why? What? So I'm going to be very excited for that in some videos. And I know I'm going to get some comments and we're going to put that thing to work. Now, I'm not talking about the quality of the parts, and it's probably going to be a great printer. I'm going, I guarantee you, I'm going to put that thing through its paces probably quicker than a lot of people will. I print a lot of stuff. But we're going to really see it. Does my $300 Soval, can it keep up? Does it work as well?
Yeah, I mean, I recently ran across this printer. It was by QIDI Technology. Kitty Tech. And it's fully enclosed. It has, so basically what happened was in 2020, the Stratasys patent went up for fully enclosed build chambers, and the design was released, and they, I think, are the first to market with a budget, fully enclosed, heated build chamber for a 3D printer for $2,500. I would buy that thing over a Prusa XL, even though it has a slightly smaller build area.
Are you talking about, I think it's the Shitty Tech Max.
I made a YouTube video on it. It's titled "The Greatest 3D Printer Ever Made." Talk about clickbait. But when I get the money for it, I want to buy one.
There it is.
Because it's got interchangeable tool heads. Yep, that's it. Yep. And
interesting.
I know. Well, that's the thing is I think that it's not going to be as good as I want it to be because it's the first iteration, just like anything else. But having that enclosed heated, that's the key. Heated build chamber will mean that you'll be able to print ASA, ABS, all these other high temp materials without skipping a beat. And it comes with steel nozzle, hardened steel nozzle tool heads with the printer, and they just pop right in and pop right out. It's direct. It's not a Bowden setup, and it's a super interesting machine, and I would very much like to get one eventually.
Have you used that company before?
I have not.
I have their I said Quiddy in my video. I did a review video on one of them, and everyone kept correcting, like, it's Chitty. It's like, okay, sure. Companies keep naming their things like Fuka, the Focus Odin 5 at Fuku's. It's like, you don't gotta be witty, but it was the Chitty Tech iMate S, and it's a little bigger, about the size of the Surmoon D1, like build plate size, a little bigger than an Ender. And aside from the Flashforge Adventurer 4 that I have now, that was the best turnkey printer I've ever used. I unbox it, pull up, you're going to spend more time pulling out all the styrofoam and getting all the tools out of it than you will actually setting up the printer itself. And you turn it on, it does its little leveling thing, and it just fired over and over again. And it was sub $1,000. I think the iMate S is like $600 or $700. Like, so nothing, and no problems with the printer, no issues with the company. Like, so if they're marketing that now, $2,500, all heated, it should be good.
Well, that's the thing people need to understand. It's not that it's enclosed, it's that it's heated.
Yeah.
That has never been seen in a sub $20,000 3D printer before. Never, ever. I mean, you can get some used Stratasys 250s on eBay for like 10 grand or whatever, but they're not great. And you have to, basically get into the whole Stratasys software, rabbit hole that never ends. And it's just not a great purchase for somebody like us, that just wants a 3D printer to print and not have to go through a million different steps to do so. Which is why I think this printer is awesome, and I'm very excited for it. And it's been out for a while now. Take about a year, I think. But yeah, very interesting. So we'll be right back after this quick break. All right. So it's still going to be recording, but I'm just going to edit that. So how long have we been going for? Almost an hour. So I like to keep them around an hour. So I don't know if there's anything else that you guys want to talk about in particular. But about the 3D printing industry, or YouTube, or things like that.
I'm curious about Frank's YouTube strategy.
Okay.
What do you mean?
I don't know. I was looking at your channel. You do a lot of longer form videos.
Yeah.
But your shorts seem to blow up like crazy.
I know.
Do you not like why don't you just go heavy into shorts?
Because I don't want to. Because I hate
You don't want to?
hate it. I hate.
Oh, really?
I hate it. I hate that. And I use it. I mean, so how much can I really complain about it? But it was there. It was exposure. But I had no idea how much it was going to absolutely decimate my analytics. And I have a lot of subscribers now, but I think because of YouTube Shorts, people didn't ring any notification. You can't ring the bell,
Mm-hmm.
So it ballooned my channel. But then you scroll through my recent uploads. Some videos do good, but other ones get like 1,000, 2,000 views. And I'm not complaining about those views, but proportionately to what they should be seeing, they're not what I typically should be seeing. That means 1% or less of my followers are getting notified and or watching that video. So it's done some damage. YouTube Shorts has actually damaged my channel. It was cool to blow up.
Yeah.
And like, all right, cool. Yeah, like that's cool in numbers, but YouTube's not what it used to be. When it used to be about how many subscribers do you have, and then if you have more subscribers, you get more push and you get more views, and then it's cyclic, and then you can dominate. Now it's not about that,
It's like all discovery basically on the homepage.
Exactly. But then some videos do good. I noticed that my educational 3D printing related videos, those usually do good. And that I literally just got done filming. So I have like my scanner and stuff here. How to scale helmets, how to scale 3D printed helmets. And I cover a couple different methods on, brute force measuring, printing out test rings, cross sections, or using your phone or a scanner to scan. That's why I have this, because I have the model of it, and now I can perfectly scale helmets to my head. There's no more guesswork. So it's those type of videos that do pretty well, the 3D printing videos. And then I have the niche build videos. Like my Mandalorian video did good because Mandalorian was popular at the time. But I like teaching, and like TikToks for the fun videos. Those are for the short videos. Those are the get people interested, and the ones who are really committed, who want to learn more, they do migrate over. They do, oh, yeah, he has a YouTube. That's awesome. And then they'll go and subscribe, but it's tricky. It's disheartening. Like I was actually just talking to my wife about this. It's like, I wish like there was more consistent, because you put a lot of work. I do have a lot of longer videos. My how to motorize an Iron Man helmet video 3, that took me 6-7 hours to film, another 2 days to edit. My wife did a lot of editing on that because I have work during the day. So like put a lot of work into that to make sure we got the right information out. And it's a pretty niche thing. Like motorizing Iron Man helmet, that's a very specific thing. But that video is still pretty good because people were waiting on that. And I offered a multitude of, it wasn't just one way to do it. I try to lower that point of entry. So I'm not going to stop doing longer videos. I like doing them, I like teaching. And it's people will ask like, oh, hey, on TikTok, can you make a video on how you print, sand, finish, and paint a helmet? And like, I can't even do that in 3 minutes, let alone 10. Like, that's not what TikTok, I can't do that. I have a YouTube, go watch that. That's where the tutorials are. That's where I want to teach you. The TikTok's the enticing thing. It's let me rope you in. And that's why I think I kind of branch off of that though. I think that's what's awesome about 3D printing and why I enjoy this side of it so much, because I trick people. And I had a teacher, a 6th grade teacher, reach out to me. He was like, can you give like a talk or something, like from like a podcast Zoom call in my class? And I did, it was fun. And he's like, I have kids now coming up to me and asking how to learn how to code. And I could never get them to do that. And I'll have people that message me on Instagram asking like, you rope them in with like, hey, learn how to make an Iron Man helmet. It's really cool. And it seems like the simple thing. They learn it's not, but it's like a mask. It's like, yeah, you're going to learn how to make this cool prop, but you're also going to leave out of that experience understanding a little bit about Arduino and coding and wiring and soldering and electricity and painting. So it's like a good trick to get kids learning. It's STEAM. It's like, I think in a few years, every household's probably going to have some type of 3D printer, because think about science projects. Like that's your side of it, right? The engineering, the getting people interested in that. And I don't have to go and take precise measurements and cut out perfect shapes. I can literally print this perfect gear that I need for this project and start messing with ratios and understanding all of engineering and brackets. And that's awesome. That's a good way to rope people in, rope kids in. Like, I don't have to sit here and draw you a picture of how this gear works. Let's print it. Let me show you how it works, Yeah. And I think it's gonna be great for the educational system. And I try to teach. That's why I like my videos. I try to show you. I try to teach. I could very easily make my entire YouTube channel nothing but YouTube shorts of check out my sweet Iron Man suit. You can't have it. That'd be easy. Probably do pretty good. But I don't want to do that. It's
so sorry, go ahead.
No, I just said that's not why I got into it. I wanted to start teaching people how to do this stuff, not rubbing it in their face.
So sorry, I have a question, another question about the Iron Man suit. So what was the total combined print hours, if you have that number, or guesstimate that it took?
I have that number.
Do you have that number? I don't know if that was in one of your videos, but
approximately. I have like 200 videos. They're not missed for missing out on some information. About 1,100 print hours roughly went into this one. About 1,300 hours went into this one.
Wow.
Another one I printed and sold was only 800 hours because it had a lot less detail and parts. I was able to get away with better support placement. And yeah, so I was better at it, right? You learn mistakes. I shouldn't have oriented that way. So about 1,100 hours for the first suit.
So what was the most difficult part of building it?
Fitting, getting it and being able to move in it. It'll be It's the hard. Will always be the hardest part. Because the more accurate you want to get it, and you want to close up those gaps so you can't see your skin through the arm or the leg, or the more accurate you get, the harder it is to move, because now all the parts are too close together, so you can't walk as easily. And just fitment, because very few people are actually proportioned like Iron Man, a 6 foot, 30-inch waist, long legged, small headed, muscular body. Like, that's not a human proportion. So it's tricky. It gets tricky at times. I wear boosters. I'm 5'8". I'm not 6 foot. I wear booster shoes when I'm in the suit to make the legs seem longer. And, and I talk about that in my videos. I'm like, I want to try to get the proportions as good as possible. Luckily, I'm a skinnier, I stay in shape. So like my waist is small enough. Like, I do fit the upper part better, but my legs are short. So let me try to, wear taller shoes, and it kind of works.
So
you design it. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
You design it all yourself?
No. So this might annoy you, and I apologize. I don't know how to 3D model. Like, I don't. I used to mess around with CAD. I understand the ins and outs of it. Like, I understand 3D manipulation, meshes. If I wanted to start, I want to learn how to 3D model and get so I can do a lot of my own stuff. But all of the stuff I've wanted to make and print up until this point, someone else who's better than me has already modeled it. And that's something I always try to drive home on a lot of my videos is, you don't need to know how to 3D model. Like, you don't need to be scared to get into this hobby, because if you're a fan of something, as long as it's not really specific, there's other fans of it, and there's people who want to model it, and there's people who want to model it and print it. My Buster Sword, the file I did for my giant Buster Sword, no one had ever printed this dude. His name's 3D Dutchy. No one had ever printed his file. And I found him online and sent him pictures of it. And he was over the dang moon about it. He was floored. And that's what the experience I've had with nearly every single 3D modeler I've dealt with. I've, commissioned, I've had them design me stuff. I found their files. They sent me files. They love seeing their stuff made. And people ask the question like, well, I don't want to steal things from 3D modelers. It's like, if they didn't want their stuff printed, they wouldn't put it out there. That's literally why they make it and put it on Etsy and make money off of it, or Thingiverse for free. They want to see this stuff made. And the guy who made my Stormbreaker axe, he printed one, and he even admitted, he's like, it came out awful. I don't know how to paint. I'm bad at it. I can model, but I don't know how to build this stuff. So when I showed him mine, he's like, that's exactly what I envisioned it to look like. And he was grateful for it. So like, you don't have to feel bad. Now there are the rules of buying and selling, and selling prints and making a profit off of it. Is it okay with the modeler? It's an ongoing battle of IP and control, but like, just check with the modeler. Like, this Captain America shield here, I can't sell that. It's a free file off the Thingiverse. He didn't put the right Creative Commons license on it, and I'll never try to sell it. I'll abide by that. Like, or if somebody has that license, or they didn't, better ask for forgiveness and permission. Not in this case, not with the 3D space, because you can quickly get burned and blacklisted if you start selling somebody's files who you weren't supposed to sell, So
yeah, it's pretty easy to know also. So you can't really use that,
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I didn't know.
But there's those WhatsApp and those group chats. There's tons of them. And what they do is they'll all go in. There's $100 file, and they did this for this suit. This suit got leaked hard because what they did, there was like 200 of them. They did a group buy, and that's how they justified it in their heads. They all chipped in 50 cents. One person bought the file and distributed it to all of them. But DO3D still made their money. That's what? That's not. If you rent a hotel room and you're only supposed to be the one person that you rent one night, one person, but then you go and have 100 people stay in it, and you don't feel like you ripped off the hotel, really? Like,
yeah,
people do that all the time with files, and they've been doing it with Walsh 3D, Vec 3D. One person will buy the files, and then they'll distribute it to all. The modeler made enough money off it. It's like, that's not your choice to make. That's not how sales and business works. Like,
people don't understand how
difficult. You can't go into
it
a
is.
store. Like, you can't go into a store and grab a Coke and be like, Coke's made enough money. This is free. That's not your choice to make, dude. Like,
yeah,
no, I hate that. I've gotten stolen files before. That Buster sword I said I printed, it had a etched file. Oh no, it was Stormbreaker. Kidding. It had 3D Quintanesp in one of the files. Like you could see his name. So I went to his Instagram, like, oh, this is the dude. And then I saw his Etsy and that he was selling the file. I don't know who gave me the file initially, but I'm like, oh, someone pirated this to me. So I messaged him. I bought the file. I just went on his Etsy and paid for it. I messaged him like, hey man, someone leaked your file. Sorry, I printed it. I paid for it. My bad. And he was so great. He's like, no one does that. Thank you. Like no one, no one would have ever known. I wouldn't have known. I'm like, yeah, it just didn't seem right. Like, I know it was stolen. Like I didn't pay for the file. I shouldn't have it. So, and now we're friends. He models stuff for me if I ask and I pay him. Worked out.
Yeah.
It's a weird space. Weird space.
I mean, I would say that I'm almost completely self-taught when it comes to CAD. I did take a class at the local community college, while I was going to college, but or am going to college, but I switched my major, so I don't take engineering courses anymore. But it's very interesting to hear the different skill levels of my friends who have gone to 4-year schools and are taking engineering classes and getting a mechanical engineering degree, and how little CAD exposure that they have. I can out design every single one of them, and all I've been doing is watching YouTube videos. I'm not $100,000+ in debt, which is what they're going to be by the time they graduate. I'll still be in debt, but not $100,000, and yeah, it's just insane. And it's very sad because it's such a useful thing to know, especially since the amount of money you can charge for design is insane, just because so little people know how to do it. It's very niche. And it's sad to see that people are uneducated on it because it's very easy to get ripped off too. Like if somebody wanted this tape dispenser designed and 3D printed, somebody doesn't know anything about CAD and they just wanted their logo put on it, you could charge somebody $1,000 for that design and they would have no idea that they just got ripped off because this would take 10 minutes to do in SolidWorks, but yeah, that's something that I try to be very honest and upfront about is, hey, listen, like, this is what I charge. This is how long it's going to take me. And because I get a lot of, like I said before, I do a lot of custom design work for people, and I'm still learning different things about CAD and how deep it really goes, and the millions of things that you need to know, millions exaggeration, but that you need to know in CAD, and it's a very difficult thing to get good at.
You're scaring. You're talking me out of it.
Listen. I can tell you this right now. I mean, it's the process of designing that is difficult. So if I want to go ahead and design something, there might be something where, you have to design it where it's easy to go back and fix things, right? Because if you do things in one giant sketch, right, and then you go through and you edit and you manipulate all these different parts, and then there's one thing that you want to change and you can't change it because it's all one big sketch, and you can't change it unless you change the whole entire sketch. That sucks. You have to start the whole design over again, whereas if you have to like build it in different sketches, so then you can go in and edit sketch 1 and it doesn't affect sketch 3. It's very interesting. But Steven, I got a question for you. So earlier You've mentioned, and I've seen on your website before, that you teach about 3D printing. So I'd love to hear you go in depth about the courses that you offer and why you did it in the first place.
Okay. So I'm actually working on a new course right now. It actually launches on Tuesday. So I've been putting a ton of time and energy into that one. And what I want that course to be is like the most comprehensive course for any skill level of person that wants to make their own stuff, basically. So whether you want to design props, like little tiny set pieces for your board games, or you want to design some mechanical thing. Basically, it's more focused on the design portion and just getting it to print well. So I'll teach them, like, for the people that don't have a 3D printer, I'll go through the pros and cons of different types of 3D printers. I'll teach them how to set it up, how to level the bed and everything, because a lot of people really struggle leveling the bed. I mean, we've been doing it a lot, so it's like a piece of cake for us. But still, like, when you don't know anything about it, it's like, what am I doing? So I go through all the basics first. Then I teach Fusion 360, which is great for the mechanical things. And then I also teach Blender, which is good for more organic shapes, because it's meshes versus solid body modeling. So that course is going to go through all of that, have over 200 video lessons. So you'll basically, I guarantee you'll be able to design anything except probably for character design. I'm not going to go deep into character design because sculpting characters is a whole different ball game. That's really hard. That's more like an intense like art skill that you have to have. But if you want to design, like, I don't know, your own chess pieces, or I don't know, any mechanical thing, an adapter, all of that you'll be able to do through the course. I launched my courses on Kickstarter. So next Tuesday, or this Tuesday coming up, February 2nd, hopefully it goes well. I'm trying to make it my absolute best. I'm reinvesting everything I have back into it. So yeah.
That's interesting.
So how do you say you're launching them on Kickstarter?
Yeah.
What are you hosting classes? Like, is it like a monthly class or a Skillshare kind of class? Like, how do people actually go and watch the class or take the class?
Yeah. So I'm structuring this one more as kind of like a monthly, the monthly platform. But I'll be hosting it on Teachable. That's the platform I'll be using. I did host it myself on my website before, using some guy in Europe built this add-on for Shopify. I was using that. Then he changed his pricing structure and all these things. It's a little awkward, so I'm getting out of that one. But I also have courses on Udemy, Skillshare as well. Those are going to be like smaller, like one-off courses, but the big complete one will only be on my website.
Gotcha.
So you kind of laughed at Teachable. What do you have experience with Teachable?
They reached out to me too. I don't know if you reached out to them. You don't need to say, but they reached out to me asking me for a similar kind of class, a start to finish. Get your first printer. What do you look for? How do you set it up? How do you find files? What are the pros and cons? How do you scale helmets? Like, they wanted take somebody through all of it,
Yeah.
And I didn't say no, but I didn't say yes yet. I kind of was like, listen, I just moved back to America. We're kind of big transition going. This is not a time for me to buckle down, because I can already tell how much work you've probably already put into it, and there's probably tons that we'll never know about.
It's a big commitment, that's for sure.
Yeah, so exactly. I tried to take a monthly class, Mark Rober's monthly class. I tried to just take that.
I wanted to take that.
I couldn't even finish it because I had so much stuff going on between work and this and the move. I literally I had no time, and I'm like, it was.
Yeah, that's goals for me. I want my course to be as good as Mark Rober's course. That's my goal.
Do you actually meet him in that, or is it just all videos?
Never live. It's
okay.
Yeah, it's all uploaded, pre-recorded. He does while the class is going, he is there actively reviewing and working on, but he's not live teaching it. I got through 3 or 4. It's a lot of work. You actually have to watch a class basically every night. There's projects due at the end of every week. There's interactions and discussion boards. It was a lot more intense. When my wife bought it for me for it was $500 or my birthday.
It was 230.
Yeah, that was it was sub 300. My bad.
Yeah.
She didn't even know how intensive it was, because she saw how much I was having to work. She's like, I'm sorry. I'm like, it's not your fault. It's someone's fault. We didn't know. I can still go back and watch all. I could continue it, except it just wouldn't be live. I wouldn't have the actual interaction and peer feedback. We made a Discord, the whole class I was in, there was 40 of us, made a Discord so we could talk and do projects, but I couldn't keep up with it. And that was just taking the class. Couldn't imagine having to organize and vet, and man, good on you. That's awesome.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wanted to also, like, I am planning on doing like the projects kind of like he does, but I'm kind of making it so people could reference certain things. Like if you want to know how to make a sketch in Fusion, you could just go directly to the sketches lessons.
Exactly.
So you don't have to like, you can always go back and read. Like,
The more specific you get, the less it's you want to keep it a little wider, so it's approachable from a bunch of different people, which is that's smart. Mine would probably be a little bit more specific, unfortunately.
yeah,
And I always feel weird when I get approached by those, because I still don't consider myself an expert. When do you, what credentials do you need for that? I'm versed in it. But I'm sure I could say one or two wrong things that, somebody else like Joel would be able to call me out on. Not that he would, he's like the nicest human ever, but like, you know what I mean? Like, when do I try to exude that expertise? I'm only showing people what I know and what I've messed up on. I'm not saying it with facts. Like, no, this is the way. It's tricky. I feel like that's tricky water to tread. You seem way more qualified in that than I do, if I'm being honest. Like, so you have to.
I mean, I don't know if you're ever like 100% qualified for anything. I think that's just life.
Yeah.
But I have learned a ton of stuff. So I think there's a lot of value I could add.
I think a lot of things people, I mean, not a lot of people miss, but experience is what I think gives you the ultimate. Sorry, go.
Yeah, exactly. No, experience.
Yeah.
That's the tried and true, like, well, what makes you qualified? Well, I've printed like 500 helmets. Like, maybe.
Yeah.
I would say you're, judging by the looks of your prints in the background, you're like 10,000% qualified.
It's tricky to stay qualified in this 3D printing. I think is in its quantum leap stage. This is like when cell phone prices dropped, and Blu-ray, remember when Blu-ray players used to be hundreds of dollars? Now it's like no one cares. Everything has a Blu-ray player. You don't even blink at it anymore. I think 3D printing is in that quantum leap. It's a race to the bottom, and it's driving everybody's price down. And
yeah, I think we're at the Apple II stage.
Yes.
So if a computer was in 1980s, I think that's where 3D printers are.
Yes.
I think that is the best comparison I've heard of 3D printing, because I've always wondered, like, where's 3D printing? Like, what? Like, it's somewhere in the realm of its existence. I don't know where though, because
we're in it. We are. The fact that I have a $150 printer sitting behind me that can pump out all of the stuff in my room, that's insane.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
I definitely think in the future, you'll probably not have to learn how to use a 3D printer. I think so.
That's a big thing.
It'll just be like your
air fryer.
Printer. Yeah, an air fryer. It'll be like a regular printer, you just send it.
And that's what people are trying. I think companies are trying. They're not quite there yet, but you're right. And that's the trick, right? A lot of people see the stuff we make and they're like, oh, I can just get this printer and plug it in and it works. It's like, it's not a microwave. It's a tool. It's not an appliance yet. And there's a difference. You need to learn how to use the tool. Everyone knows how to use a microwave. It's different.
I think that's what, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. I think in 20 years, we'll see huge improvements. I think a lot of patents will expire. And once those patents expire, like the second round of patents expire, I think just blow up like crazy.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with this 3D printer. It's called the Mojo. It's by Stratasys. It's a small, like 5x5x5 3D printer, ASA, ABS only. That's the thing about a lot of those Stratasys 3D printers is you drop 15, 20K and they only print ABS or ASA. No TPU, no PETG, no PLA, nothing, no other high temp materials. It's just those because they have NFC chips in them and they won't let you print. But anyways, I lost my train of thought there for a second, but yeah, I just lost my train of thought. I don't know why, but it happens.
The future of 3D printing.
Yes, the future. That's so hard to predict is within 20 years, what's going to happen. But I think that the Mojo, something similar to that, probably half that size, but it has to be fully enclosed and heated and something like that. Just because in order to get reliable prints, you need to have heat like that. It helps immensely. And I think it needs to be a material that, can be left out in the sun and won't warp or discolor, or where ASA comes in nice, and I think it needs to be able to print that type of material and have that kind of reliability. There's something about those machines, those expensive 3D printers is sure they only print 2 materials, but they don't skip a beat. When they break, it's maybe once a year, and it's insane. But so you have something to add, Frank?
I think the big hole in the hobby right now, or just the 3D printing space, is recyclability.
Oh, dude.
There's that no one, the 3D printing companies don't care. They don't have
The
a reason.
spools, dude, the spools.
Spools alone, but I have the scrap prints from this suit in a box in my garage. I've saved dang near every bit of support, failed print, wasted material in 2.5 years of printing. I still have most of it because I'm waiting to break a threshold. In my mind, I'm thinking 100 kilograms of waste material will finally let me justify buying one of they're all sorted by color, material. Like this is Sunloose PLA plus, and this is eSun's PLA, and they're all sorted. I've been keeping track of that, but there's no incentive for 3D printing, especially the filament companies. They're the last ones who want you to be able to do this. No one cares, but so realistically, I just have to recycle all of it. And it goes to a proper recycling facility, and some of it can get sorted and processed, but that adds to an infrastructure that already is overtasked, right? Recycling, and people already doing it enough. So I think as it grows and becomes more readily available, because I'll see those comments on my YouTube. I don't know if you get them too, but look at all that wasted plastic. It's like, it's not a waste. We're learning something. We're trying to do something fun. Is that a waste? But then there's the actual wasted materials. It's like, even if I want to use this $1,000 filament recycler, I still need to pulverize my failed prints into pellets. There's no good system for that. I have to buy a $5,000 industrial shredder that's going to pull. There's no good way for me to just recycle this stuff. And if that was more readily available, along with the printer, that if any tech moguls are listening, there's your hole to fill. Make a actual filament recycler, or let me melt it down into coasters or something, some way to reuse this at my house where it's not just a box of scraps that's collecting dust that I have no idea what to do with.
Whenever anybody says box of scraps, all I can think of is Tony Stark built it in a cave with a box of scraps. Now that you have the
box of PLA.
Yeah, box of PLA. But you mentioned Joel. So have you met him before? That's a 3D printing nerd on YouTube. Have you met him before?
We talk. I've never met him in person.
Okay.
I met Uncle Jesse in person. We went to
Uncle. So did he make a video on recycling 3D printing, or was that somebody else? So somebody made a video talking about the biggest issue with, was it Joel?
Teaching tech.
Yeah.
The great 3D printing's greatest lie, the biodegradability of PLA, which I even fell for. I didn't know it needed certain enzymes in a certain environment to be broken down. You can't just bury a PLA print and expect in 100 years it'll be degraded, because ignorantly, that's kind of, I thought, all right, it would break down. It's cornstarch. There's a lot of other materials in it, and it's not really biodegradable at all. The video is worth a watch if you haven't seen it. But
I wasn't sure if it came out with
the
that.
Market. That's what a lot of companies market, right? Biodegradable. It's put a little asterisk next to that, or don't use that word because you're lying. They're lying. That's all it is. And PLA is the only acceptance to that, because PTG isn't, TPU isn't. It's, you're only marketing this one thing as biodegradable, and it's not even biodegradable. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird, because I've seen people try to do those tests online, and the boat's still, the bench is still there in the ground, completely the same color. And
that was it.
Yeah. That was that video. Great videos.
I could bury this suit in the ground. I'm sure the paint's going to, as the PLA expands from a little bit of moisture, but gonna be there. Like,
Yeah.
sucks.
So do you guys have anything else you'd like to add, or nothing? All righty. So this has been a great conversation. So usually I ask my guests as the last question, what is the, a piece of advice that you want to leave the listener? I think a great way to cap this off is if somebody's getting into 3D printing, what sort of advice do you want to give them? So Stephen, if you want to go ahead and answer that.
Biggest piece of advice 3D printing wise? Man, I'm trying to think.
It's okay.
Just I mean, you don't have to get into it. If you like making stuff, then it's game changer. Gives you ultimate creative freedom, essentially. It does require a little bit of tinkering, but just follow what you like doing. That's my biggest advice, just kind of in life in general, actually. Just if you like doing it and you're helping people, then it's a good thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Frank?
If somebody came to me and they were like, I want to get into 3D printing, what should I know? Know that you're gonna mess up. I mean,
Yeah.
know that I wish I could say it to more people who have that misinterpretation of it and that unrealistic expectation. You're gonna mess stuff up, and that's normal. That's fine. Just learn why that happened. Learn why that mistake happened, because there's always a reason. Seldom did a gremlin come into your room and knock your print over, but there's typically a reason. 99% of the time, it was a misleveled bed. You didn't clean it. Temp was wrong. Tangled spool. Your G code sucked. You didn't put supports there. You bought in a net. Like, you did something wrong. So just embrace that, run with it, grow. And at the end of the day, they're cheap enough now where if it turns out you suck at it or you don't like it, what'd you lose? 180, 150 bucks if you got a entry level printer. That's not bad. Better than losing a couple grand.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, it's been a great conversation. I really appreciate you guys putting aside the time to talk. And this has been awesome. And guys, if you want to email the podcast to ask questions for future guests, email me at knowledgeispowerri@gmail.com. Make sure to check it out on Instagram. And not that this is going to make any difference, but if you haven't heard of them, 3D Printer Academy or Frankly Built, you should check them out. Not that I have a lot of followers right now, but you should check them out if you haven't heard of them. But yeah, guys, I really, really appreciate it. You guys don't know how much this means to me, trying to get this podcast up and running. You guys have great channels, so keep up the great work, and I will continue to be fans and watching every video. So thanks again for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having us. It's nice meeting you,
problem.
Frank.
Thank you. You too, man. We got to talk more.
For sure.
I want to know things. We're gonna be in touch.
Yeah. Sounds good.
All right, guys, thanks for listening, and I'll catch you in the next one.